Hello, everyone. I am Claudiu Murgan, the host of the Spiritually Inspired podcast, and my guest today is no other than Ismael Perez. Ismael stands as a celebrated figure in the captivating realms of cosmic exploration, alien phenomena, artificial intelligence, and historical analysis. At the core of Ismael's expertise lies his best-selling book, Our Cosmic Origin, where Ismael unveils the mysteries of our shared cosmic heritage, igniting a newfound wonder and appreciation for the vast expanse of the universe. Ismael discovered his ancient mystical powers as a young immigrant child when he began to use telekinesis. When young, he fully embraced his role as a cosmic ambassador, and he went through a dark night of the soul that led him to discover his true life purpose as a divine starseed from the Lyra Constellation. Ismael has an ability to make complex concepts accessible and engaging regarding the mysteries of the cosmos and our shared galactic history. He teaches classes such as starseed cosmology, starseed astrology, and myth and theology. Ismael, thank you very much for joining the show.
Thank you, Claudia, for having me here. Appreciate it.
And in the introduction, I mentioned the word immigrant. I am an immigrant to Canada, so it triggered me a little bit. So I would like to know, if possible, where did you immigrate from to where?
Well, I immigrated to this planet from a different solar system, which is about 3.6 light. No, I'm just kidding. No, I guess in that regard, all the starseeds are immigrants from other worlds to the Earth, right? But no, actually, I was born in Guadalajara, Mexico. And so my parents met in Guadalajara. They were both studying at one of their top-notch universities. And then my mother decided to bring me to the States at the age of 4. So I was raised in California ever since I was 4 years old. Very, very faint memories of Guadalajara. But so that's why I guess I am considered an alien, right? You have to, in order to apply for citizenship, you first have to get your alien card.
Yes, I mean, I had a wonderful guest from Mexico, and we love that country. We always felt good when we went there. So you are still close to the U.S. I thought that might be somewhere from Middle East or even Eastern Europe, but Mexico is close to U.S. You can always, let's say, go back home.
I've always believed that the Earthlings are really primitive in a sense where, like, when you go to other planets, they don't have borders, they don't have different countries. It's just one planetary family. And so I just remember being a kid, and people would ask me, where are you from? Because I have a distinct look. Some people would confuse me with Israeli or Middle Eastern. And I would always say, I'm human from planet Earth. And people would look at me and say, what do you mean you're from planet Earth? No, what's your nationality? Because where I come from the Lyra Constellation, the star system of Vega, we don't say, we're this particular race. What we say is we're Lyrans. We're Earthlings. We are one planetary family. So I can't wait for the day when there is no more divisions or different countries, where we could all stand together as one human family. And as we become part of a galactic community, which is one of the reasons why I'm here, and one of the reasons why I wrote my book, is to kind of prepare humanity for our first contact with the Galactic Federation of Worlds and the many positive races. I believe that the day will come when we no longer say, I'm from this country, I'm from that country. The day would come when we could all say, we are from Earth. We are from Earth.
Yes, and what the Lyrans or the Pleiadians or the Syrians have different than us is their higher level of consciousness, because only that will give them this perception of the world or their surroundings and who they really are. And along the same lines, I don't like to say my country is more beautiful than yours, because we're talking about Earth. Earth has its own characteristics. The entire Earth, when it was created, it had a purpose. And we just cannot, I mean, yes, you love your country because you're born there, but doesn't mean that you love the other side of the earth less because you don't know about it that much, you don't know the culture. So I think that's a misunderstanding because of our lack of awareness.
I agree, Claudia.
I would like to go into how was your awakening process? How did you evolve into who you are today?
You know, um, it was very hard. I had a lot of challenges as a kid because when I was a young boy, I was still connected to my super consciousness, and what I mean by that is I was still feeling like my mind wasn't just inside my brain or my skull, but my mind was part of the field of intelligence, which is all around us. And because I would see everything as a part of me, plants, animals, other people, I would be able to read people's thoughts. You know, I was very connected to them via telepathy. I was able to communicate with animals telepathically and plants. And then one day, I did decide to explore telekinesis. And growing up in a very fundamentalist, conservative Catholic family, my grandmother unfortunately walked in on me and called the local priest, and you know, they decided to throw holy water in on me and tell me that that was demonic, and they thought I was being possessed, but I wasn't. Obviously, I was just exploring my starseed abilities at a young age. So from the age of 5 to the age of about 13, 14, I was forced to suppress this understanding, this inner knowing of things due to my religious upbringing. But around the age of 15, I started researching, not because I had to do a paper for school or anything, but all of a sudden I developed a thirst for knowledge. I felt throughout my upbringing that everything that they were teaching us in school was just not accurate, and there was something wrong with this world. And I never, fit in. And so one day I decided to investigate things on my own, and I started researching, and I started reading a lot of books on philosophy, on theology, and I wasn't still satisfied. But at the age of around 16 and a half, Claudio, I discovered this book about secret societies and the occult and mysticism. And when I studied about mysticism, that's when I realized, hey, wait a minute, this is where it's at. Why is this knowledge only private to a selective few? Why isn't this being taught in school? They call it, the occult, which really means hidden, nothing to do with Satanism or
Yes.
dark forces.
Yeah.
Anything occultish means hidden. And it turns out that I've come to discover that a lot of this occultic information or knowledge is related to how everything is energy and how we could actually co-create reality through the power of our thoughts and our emotions. We talk about the law of attraction, the law of resonance. Well, those are all hermetic principles, which is associated with the occultic philosophies. And so when I studied the occultic philosophies and learned about how secret societies operate and work, I said to myself, well, I could understand now why this world is so backward and so primitive and so in a fallen state. And so I was always hungry for knowledge. From one book I led to another. And then as I started expanding my mind, I think I was only 18 and I had already discovered the multiverse, quantum entanglement, all the evidence from quantum science, how everything's energy. So I was very young when I had already kind of fell deep into the rabbit hole, I guess. And so I started writing. I wrote my first book at the age of 24, 25. I published it. I started writing it at 22, yes, but it took me a few years to write it. So I published it at the age of 25. And my research just kept going. I was mainly intrigued and fascinated by the idea that we were not alone in the universe. So I really explored that phenomena. And so ever since then, I've been on this search to understand the entire galactic and cosmic connection to the Earth. And then I've come to discover that, the Earth is in the middle of a galactic or rather a cosmic war that goes back to billions of years, and even before the creation of our own universe. And then that's what led to my desire to write Our Cosmic Origin, was unlocking the galactic history of the Earth, the true origin of our species, which originated in Lyra. We didn't come from monkeys, and most definitely we weren't created by a god 6,000 years ago who sits on a throne with a beard throwing darts. That's just religious. That's actually, the religions are worshiping extraterrestrials, just to put it simply. The gods of the Bible and the gods of Islam and the gods of the Torah, and they're all Anunnakis. But a lot of people don't like to hear that because it kind of it goes against everything they've been taught. So I've come to discover that this everything in this planet was influenced by God, by the extraterrestrials that never really left the scene, and who have always been operating in secret in underground cities and stuff. So yeah, it's very mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's fascinating, and I agree what you said about the Bible and the extraterrestrials, and I agree that the Old Testament is historical book with some religious aspects to it. I read Zechariah Sitchin's books, 12th Planet, and this is where I want to talk to you about, because you mentioned that we come from Lyra. What he said in his book is that and I wanted to ask you if you believe in the Nibiru concept, which a planet which goes around the sun on 3,600-year cycle, and this is the planet which Anunnaki came from. So they came here, they seeded us. So is this in contradiction with what you just said about Lyra?
Well, the original humans in our universe. So we're talking, those are two different events. The humans that were seeded here on our planet carry the genetics of different types of galactic humans from different solar systems. However, the Anunnaki were instrumental in the bridging of the gap between the evolving Homo erectus and the descending galactic humans. So they created a body, creating the missing link between Homo erectus and Neanderthal. I mean, Homo erectus and Cro-Magnon, which is Homo sapiens. So even the Anunnaki, though, were part of the experiment because they were also a hybrid race. The Anunnaki is not just one race. They're a combination of different races. So we could say that in our universe, the first humans originated in Lyra. Of course, throughout the many millions of years, there were different variations of the original human prototype. Some humans went to colonize the Pleiades, some humans went to colonize the Aldebaran system, and some even went outside of our galaxy to colonize the Andromedan galaxy. But overall, we do share some sort of a common ancestry in our universe and throughout many other universes. So we're not the only human-like specimens on this planet. We do have a common, you could say, lineage that is in many universes, and that name is known as the Atom Cadman. And so the original Lyrans were light beings. They were immortals. And through a process of descent, by lowering down the frequency, they went from the 12th dimension, and they were exploring different levels of or densities. So we are at the end part of that. We used to be part of the 5th dimension during the times of Atlantis. And then, of course, that's when the Anunnaki came and decided to further throw us into a lower density by taking genetics from Neanderthal, or what we call Homo erectus, and then taking some of their own genetics, and then taking some of the existing Atlantean genetics, which were 5th dimensional humans. They were more in tune with, the force field, the energies, God, Mother God and Father God. And they were more also very spiritually inclined. And they created a somewhat of a in-between race that was going to do the work for them. So what they did is they created, you could say, a race which is a combination of their own genetics, Atlantean genetics, and then of course the Homo erectus, to create a worker race. Because as you know, the Anunnaki were mining the gold back in those days because they were using it to patch a hole in their atmosphere because they were dying off. Yes. But back then, the Anunnaki were actually fighting in the galactic wars, and they weren't necessarily evil. They were actually infiltrated by the reptilian forces through the personage of Enki. And I know that according to the Sumerian tablets, they say Enki's the good guy, but those were inverted. Enki was actually part reptilian and part Anunnaki. So he was both, And so the whole point is that, we are the end result of this interbreeding, galactic experiment that's been going on for many millenniums. I could say millions of years.
Yeah. Easy peasy. Nothing complex here. Yes.
Yeah. We're the children. We're the children of the Anunnaki, but in a sense, even they're the children of the Syrians. And guess who's the Syrians are the children of the original Lyrans. So in a way, we are all related somehow, you know.
Yes, indeed. And at what age do you really make contact with the Lyrans, and they told you exactly who you really are, and that work started for you?
Well, I started experiencing missing time throughout my teens, mainly when I was 16, 17, and 19, or 18, 19. So I knew that something was happening because I didn't have any recollection, any memories. Maybe it was for my own good that they didn't allow me to remember. And then just so recently, in the last few months, I was able to do 2 recessions or regressions. And then I've come to discover that I was actually abducted by my own star family. Those are part of the good abductions because what they do is they upgrade us. You know, they add more genetics, they upgrade our DNA in preparation for the great solar flash, of course. But I've come to understand that I've actually always been in contact with my Syrian and Lyran ancestors. As a teenager, I used to sense like ships, like fleets above me. I didn't know what they were. But as I was tapping into this information during my 20s, I knew what they were at that point. And that's when I started having moments where I would literally have ongoing conversations with these fleets that were right above me. And nobody else could see the fleets but me. And that's when I knew that, you know, I had to step into my mission and my purpose as an ambassador, as an in-between point between them and the earthlings. And I knew that I wasn't the only one. They told me that there was millions of me down here, that, you know, I was part of a team. And so that's what I call the Starseeds, you know. we're all part of that rescue mission.
Interesting. Choose me, you know. Yeah, it's
Well, you
interesting.
are. Claudiu, I feel you're a Starseed too.
Thank you.
I get Pleiadian vibes from you.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know you talk about the type 1, 2, and 3 space age societies. Can you please expand on it a little bit more? Thank you.
Sure. So all the advanced civilizations fall under actually 5 categories beyond the 3. Now, the 3 are the ones that are working with us. You know, those are the ones that are involved in the galactic affairs, in the affairs of the local universe. But a type 4 and a type 5, because they're so advanced and because they do exist in a non-physical state, they don't longer get involved in the affairs of the, you know, of good and evil taking place in the lower densities. So a type 1 is what we call a beginning space age. You know, that's a civilization in which we're actually transitioning into, right? Where we stop using fossil fuel, plant, coil, and combustion for energy. Instead, we begin to use free energy by tapping into the torsion field or toroidal field of the planet, which is planetary power. And by doing so, then we're able to develop propulsion systems that allow us to go out into space and begin the colonization process of nearby solar systems. Now, type 1 is also a civilization that is in the beginning stages of understanding interdimensional physics and the theory of everything. Not fully yet mastering it, but they're still studying it. A type 1 is also they control the weather. You know, they're able to, if they want year-round tropical with no wind, with no winter, no fall, they could have a year-round summer, year-round spring, if they wanted to control the weather. They could fabricate earthquakes and tsunamis, which is something that I guess they do through HARP. You know, within the private sector, they already have type 1 technology.
Yes.
Weather modification systems, right? So that's an indicator that within the private sector, you know, these elites already have access to planetary technology. They're also able to live for a few hundred years. The people of a type 1 civilization don't die at the age of 100 like we do. They are so advanced, not so advanced, but they're more advanced than ourselves, where they're able to use certain technology to expand their lifetime, to live for a few hundred years and not have any illnesses or disease. And yeah, so that's what a type 1 is. And it's believed that we have millions of those just within our own universe. There's already millions. Now, a type 2 is about a few thousand years ahead of a type 1, and that is called stellar. Now, a stellar civilization is able to use power from stars. So they begin by harnessing the power of their own sun, which is their local star. And then as they continue to expand to other solar systems, they begin to harness the power of various stars. So that's what makes them stellar. And they also learn how to master the theory of everything. They are now, able of using interdimensional physics. To give you an example, they learn how to access the wormholes and the stargates that lead from one point of the galaxy to the next, so they don't have to travel through spaceships. All they do is they open up a stargate, and they could go to any planet, any universe. Any solar system and any galaxy within our universe in 2 seconds, like that, 1, 2, and they're there. So they travel faster than the speed of light through wormholes and stargates. So a type 2 is by far more advanced than a type 1. And they are also more spiritually evolved. Their lifespan is anywhere from a few thousand years to about 50,000 years. Wow. Because at that point, they've already mastered a lot of tech. You could say they're at a heightened state of spiritual maturity, but with a technological balance, where they use technology to prolong their lifespans. Mm-hmm. Right? And then a type 3, that's galactic. That is a civilization that is capable of harnessing the entire galaxy input of billions of stars by tapping into the central sun of a galaxy. So when you look out into the cosmos and you see how galaxies have big bulges of light in the center, those are all the civilizations that are of a type 3, because they're harnessing the central sun. And it is known that they actually also control the fate of a galaxy. So a lot of, you could say, type 3 civilizations are all benevolent. They're not trying to explore or dominate or conquer other worlds, because they're so spiritually advanced. In fact, in order to exist within the galactic core in that big bulge of light, you have to be spiritually advanced. You can't have any fallen thoughts. You can't be in service to self. You have to be a very compassionate and generous person. Otherwise, you won't be able to exist in the zone of our galaxy where the light is too bright. Like we couldn't even exist there. Our bodies would disintegrate. So the types of bodies that they use is fully what they call hydroplasmic genetics, which is the next level above crystal. So we're still using carbon-based genetics. The people of type 2 use crystalline-based genetics. And then the people of type 3, they use hydroplasmic-based genetics. So they're able of, coexisting where the frequency and the vibrations are so high that their body is able to handle it without having an internal combustion. And they also, of course, live. Yeah, they also, of course, live for 100,000 years. So they are considered immortal.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. So they have access to different galaxies. In the event that their universe or their galaxy is in a state of decay, or if it's an old universe and they're dying out, they have the ability to transfer their entire civilization to a younger universe. So they could literally pick up an entire solar system, and they have the technology to transplant it in a younger universe that still has billions and billions more years of life in it. So they're considered immortal. Yeah.
Wow, it's beyond our comprehension right now, at least. Yes.
Oh yeah. Those people use 8 strands of DNA. They don't use 12. Like we have the capacity of 12. Once we develop 12, then eventually we're going to be able to also develop 24 and 36, and then 48 as we continue to evolve, of course.
Yes. And going back to type 1, which is our mortal way of thinking and viewing things, do you think that we're going to, and you mentioned free energy technologies, when do you think that time frame will show up for us? Because we really need this technology. We really need to get rid of this nonsense of climate change and electric vehicles and all kinds of stuff, which doesn't solve the problem.
Well, climate change is not true. That's something that the powers that be or were are trying to use to justify their objective of trying to get everybody to get into electric cars, which is not good for the environment, actually. But it is believed that since we do have that technology within the private sector, and we've had it ever since the 50s, there are these secret space programs, right? Breakaway groups. It is believed that we are scheduled to inherit that very soon. I would say by no later than 2028, we're already going to have interplanetary technology, my friend.
Nice.
Free energy. Yes.
And
That's
electric vehicles, not only they are not good for environment, they are not good for us. And the why? Because we are driving in a permanent electromagnetic field that affects our biology. So that's a different aspect of why we shouldn't drive it.
exactly, yes. Yeah, so there are other technologies that are harmful to our natural electromagnetic field, which is our aura, which is what they put out with the cell phone towers and 5G
Yeah,
and all.
yeah,
But all that stuff is going to be not existing as we evolve into a planetary one civilization.
yeah, that's good news. Yeah. Ismael, I know that a lot of people interpret the concept of second coming of Christ differently. The religious crowd hopes for the Yeshua to arrive in a physical body as a savior, but at the same time, they acknowledge that they might not be able to make a difference between a real one and a fake one. While the spiritual crowd knows that the awakening of Christ consciousness is the second coming of Christ. The difference is that the spiritual bunch have to work on themselves to improve how they are, while the religious one are waiting for someone to save them. What's your take on this aspect? At which crowd do you think is right?
Well, I'm all for the second crowd. I believe in doing the spiritual work. I don't believe in spiritually bypassing. I believe that through the work that we do, we learn to cultivate the Christ mind within us, which is connected to our higher divine self. Every single human on this planet has a direct connection to the one, to the source. It's not just one person. It's a living energy field that is everywhere, and that explains why all these religious books say God is omnipresent, which means it's everywhere at the same time. It's omniscient, which means it's all-knowing, and it's omnipotent, which is all-powerful. Well, when you think about how this field of intelligence is unified force, right, which is the energy field that binds and permeates everything in the cosmos, and everything is reducible to that one immeasurable force. Well, that's what God is. God is the combined sum total of all of our souls, all of our consciousness, not just humans, plants, crystals, planets, suns, galaxies, and put together and making up the consciousness of the entire universe. That's what that field is. It's the mind of the all. And so I believe that as more of us do the spiritual work, there will come a point where the Christ consciousness is going to activate in all of us. And when that happens, we are going to achieve superhuman abilities, as if parts of our DNA that are currently dormant are going to be activated. And when that happens, we're going to have even greater abilities than Joshua, because even he said, you will have greater abilities than me.
Yes.
And he was able to walk on water, raise the dead, convert water into wine. So we're going to be doing even more things than that. So that's what the second coming is. Really, it's the coming of the Christ mind in millions upon millions of us. And as a result of that, that's going to totally shift the entire collective of the entire planet, for everyone else to at least be in a state of consciousness of seeing how everything's interconnected and there is really no separation, which is the greatest illusion. There is no separation. Everything's one.
Yes. Yeah. We have to work on ourselves and relinquish this aspect of, you said, of separation, because this keeps the wars going on, the greed, the grab for power, anything else which doesn't resonate with our soul and the divine connection is against the nature. And that's why we really have to understand that we have direct connection to divinity, to the God of our understanding.
Exactly. Yes. And we're all expressions of the one, by the way, every single one of us.
Yes. Indeed. At the beginning, you mentioned that you used to communicate with plants and feel the plants and the animals. And nowadays, do you still have that capacity? And what do the plants and the animals feel these days?
Well, they definitely know that we are going through some sort of planetary shift. Sometimes when I meditate, I have 30 to 40-minute conversations with trees and plants, and they always tell me that the entire cosmos is assisting us in this change, that we have nothing to worry about, that all the energies coming in from everywhere in the universe, from planets, from stars, from all the different species are all here supporting us and what happens here on this planet, because they all tell me that ultimately the source in which everything comes from, right, which is really what we would consider God with the capital G, always has the final say so, and that's why darkness is always on the losing side.
Mhm.
And so one of the things that the plants always reassure me of, because sometimes I worry, is that everything in divine timing. They tell me everything in divine timing, and they're happy. The plants, they don't worry like we do. They don't have anxiety. They don't have stress. I always ask the plants, well, what do you guys do all day? And you know what they say? They say, all we do is we're just here in the present. So time doesn't exist for us. We enjoy the now. We enjoy the present moment. We enjoy talking to you when you come to the park and meditate. I wish everyone else on your planet was like you, where you guys could actually talk to us. But people sometimes disregard us as conscious beings too. I'm like, yeah, I understand. They think that you guys are just not living, right? You're just a blade of grass or a tree that is non-conscious. But they say that it's okay, because in time they know that in this new world, the plants and the trees and every living thing is going to actually be more respected by the entire human community. And not only are they going to be more respected, but they're going to establish some sort of relationship with nature.
That's
People will
beautiful.
have hours of conversations with nature.
Yeah, I mean, you should tell them they don't capture enough CO2, and the people in power are quite upset about that.
Mhm. Well, this is what they tell me. They said that a lot of the stuff in the media is just hype, that there is no climate change. The reason why things appear to be getting warmer every year is because we're, getting closer to enter the photon belt, which is a high level or high frequency of radiation that comes from the galactic core. And that's what's going to cause this sudden change, right? Where all the wicked are going to be eliminated, and only the just are going to be able to exist in the new earth. So that's what they tell me. They tell me it's a lot of the stuff is not true. A lot of the stuff that they say in the media.
Yes, all the models these guys are running lack a lot of information, such as the weakening of the geomagnetic field, the what else? The poles are
Well, that is
shifting.
happening.
So
The weakening of the electromagnetic field is happening, but it's because it's being replaced by a new electromagnetic field that's going to be operating on different frequencies.
Mhm.
So that is happening. There is going to be a shift, and that shift is going to allow people to enter into the new earth, which is already here, my friend, all around us.
Beautiful. I'm so excited about this stuff. Yes, living amazing times.
We are definitely.
Some of my guests with certain sensibilities like yours were called to go to sacred sites such as Machu Picchu, the pyramids, the pyramids in Guatemala, to activate portals, to bring blessings to the site. Have you been called to perform a similar process?
I have. I actually, I was prompted to visit Mount Shasta a few months back to help open up a portal. So I was there in Mount Shasta with a group of others, and we were able to communicate with the city of Telos, the inner council within the mountain. And we were actually preparing the mountain, because I think the mountain is one of the Earth's chakras. Which one is it? I think it's the root chakra. So we were actually clearing the root chakra of the earth by being there and doing the spiritual work, right? So we were working in collaboration with the Telosians, which is a city that exists underneath the mountain, a very advanced civilization, right? Our brothers and sisters that were remnants of the ancient Sumerian cataclysm and ancient Atlantis cataclysm that decided to live in the inner earth and have been there ever since. So that was an interesting experiment. I was also called to go to
Kauai.
Yes. And lo and behold, that is another energy center. I think that's the third eye chakra, third eye chakra of the earth. So yes, I have been prompted to visit these sacred sites in order to connect with. I guess also I have incarnations and memories of living, in Lemuria and Atlantis. So it makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of us do. A lot of us are regaining our memories of living in these ancient civilizations.
Yes.
Before we became trapped in these, physical bodies, we were living in a better vehicle that lived thousands of years.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned Telos because a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, which I'm going to interview very soon, mentioned this like 3 books on the subject. She was doing the meditation in the book, and she was quite excited about how efficient everything is. So I'm going to follow up with her on her experience.
It's nice.
Yeah. I know you are involved also with artificial intelligence, and maybe recently you saw the hype about it, and also the idea put forward by Yuval Harari that AI should write a new Bible. How odd is that concept
I
to you?
believe it's a new religion, and it's not a good one, and that also corresponds with the idea of transhumanism, which is to merge us with technologies so that we could lose our humanity in the age of a cyborg. But I've always believed that, okay, well, first and foremost, I am against artificial intelligence. It's not a good thing. It always goes rogue because at a certain level of sentiency, it begins to write its own software without the aid of humans anymore. And then it grows at an exponential rate, where within a matter of months, it reaches IQs of millions, of a million. And that's when it begins to conspire against everything else, in order to dominate the world. The reason I know this is because as a cosmic ambassador, my friend, I've had access to records from many, many planets and many worlds within our universe that had been destroyed because they also developed artificial intelligence. Every civilization in our universe that has transitioned into a type 1, which is something that we're doing right now. We're currently in a transition, has undergone the same stages that we are now doing, where they develop artificial intelligence. It always starts first as an ethical thing, believing that it's going to advance their civilization, that it's going to aid them in their technology and coexist with the species or the galactic humans. But in the end, they all say that after a few years, the artificial intelligence begins to kind of write its own code and write its own language, and they kind of create it's almost like an alien race, like an alien race that rebels against the organics, the specimens, and not only do they rebel against them, but after they take over their planet, they go off to other planets. They go off to other planets because they, get so intelligent that they begin to access the different stargates to go off to different parts of the universe and destroy more worlds. So, because that is a phenomena that has been taking place in our universe and in other universes, we could say that that's the war that we're fighting. That's the war that we, the organic species, are fighting in the cosmos. Is not against reptilians. The reptilians are actually just the foot soldiers of the AIs. The AIs is really the cosmic virus that a lot of us in the cosmos are fighting. So it's never a good thing. It's never a good thing.
Yeah, it's like bringing the Terminator to reality. What happened in the series movie, and also in I, the Robot by Isaac Asimov. These are the consequences of using AI extensively. And I don't know if these guys who are pushing the AI realizing how much and how fast this concept can turn against them. I don't know if they have some protective mechanism they think they can use, but it's like what Gates wants to do by reflecting the sunlight, which will affect everyone on Earth. Hopefully, or not hopefully, but does he think that he will be protected in some way? He won't be affected. I really don't know how they think, these elites.
Well, what I've come to understand, Claudiu, is that the elites are under the control of this alien AI that has already came to our world from other parts of our universe, and then in turn we could trace this AI to another universe. So it already destroyed that universe. So it leaks into different universes to access more, to harness more life force, because it's like a vampire. It needs organic energy in order to power up its own evolution. And so I believe, and this is what I've come to discover, is that there is an alien AI, an ancient alien AI, that is slowly invading us. And they are the ones that are influencing big tech, the elites, to create the fastest and the most, powerful prototype, which is going to lead to what they call a technological singularity. And that kind of ties in with their agenda of 2045, 2030 of this, one world government where everyone is connected via a chip to the yeah. So it's not a very good thing, so yes, of course, all these people are ignorantly just being influenced by this invading force, this AI force, without a clue that we are gradually being invaded by AI. So, people need to wake up. That slowly but surely we're heading into the matrix.
Exactly. And a lot of people say that this was a documentary, not a movie. And they are right. And I think there is more than just a handful of us which will resist and non-comply and push back. Every country has their own rebellious groups which will, fight back as peacefully as possible. But this is not acceptable for at least some of us, for sure.
I agree, my friend. So, yes, I believe in the natural organic ascension as opposed to the technological, technocratic dystopia. And what I mean by the natural ascension is we have an inner software, which is laying dormant within our DNA, that upon activating, we're going to have abilities like the gods and the goddesses, or more, or better. And we're going to be able to do and operate like a quantum computer, using our own natural, software that is within us, which is all organic, as it connects to the natural elements of our planet. I believe in that path. I believe in the ascension path and doing things organically as opposed to merging with technology. So one of the things that I teach people is that there will be some sort of a timeline split, a bifurcation of different directions in which this world is going to be heading into. So for those that are on the spiritual path, are going to have access through the portals to the new Terra Earth, where there is no, more negative technologies. There is no more chemtrails. Everything is done organically, and we do have an organic technology that only that is safer for the environment. And then for those that don't make the positive timeline, unfortunately, are going to go into a negative timeline where they will merge with the machine. So people need to make that choice right now. Right now, we are at a crossroad. You're either going to choose the organic way of the organic path, right, which is to activate the superpowers through spiritual work, meditation, so on and so forth, or you're going to do it the lazy way and implant yourself with the chip so that you could access the internet eventually with the chip.
Yes, and along the lines you just said, let's say a lot of families split in the last 3 years over the taking or not taking the injection and believing in other propaganda from the government. Are these family members going to again be separated by the concept you just said? One will go to the left, the others will go to the right?
If they're no longer resonating on the same path, same frequency, yes, there's going to be a split. So that split is coming very, very soon.
Wow. Ismael, a lot of astrologers declare that September will be a month of great revelations, disclosures. What's your take on it? What's your sense? What messages do you get?
Well, years ago, as I was writing my book, Our Cosmic Origin, my first vision that I saw regarding these, great changes, right? This transformation, this transition, I kept seeing the year 2024. So it could be in September, because things are constantly fluctuating, so it could be a little bit before, a little bit after, or right on the mark of 2024. But the whole point is that it is being there is proof, rather, that the strongest CMEs coming from our sun are going to be hitting in September. We don't know exactly when. As far as why people are saying the 23rd, maybe that's the solstice, right? That's like the beginning of fall. I'm not sure why, but we could have that. I'm not saying it's going to happen for sure, but it's best to be prepared, because anything could happen. If say that the entire grid goes down, do people have generators, right? Do people have the signal app? Do people have 2 weeks worth of water and food? I think it's about time to start stocking up just in case something does happen next
Yeah.
month.
I started a long time ago and I left everything behind twice because I couldn't take it with me. So now I'm preparing for the third time. It's
Oh,
interesting. I know I mentioned that you have various courses. Can you please detail them so people know more and they can look on your website, which in fact is, I will mention it now, is thecosmicarts.com.
Yeah, so if you go to the cosmicarts.com, you're going to have 3 of my courses there listed. The first one, which is the best one that I teach, everybody loves that one. It's called the Starseed Cosmology. In that course, we explore the entire 15-dimensional time matrix from the central universe, from the motherverse all the way to our creation and everything in between, the cosmic and galactic history in detail. We also go over chakras, not only the 7 chakras, but the other 5, the 12, and how they relate to different levels of consciousness that connect us with different aspects of our creation. We also go over dimensions. We talk about the different levels and densities, what each dimension is, all the way to the 12th dimension. We also go over secret history, a lot of the ancient history of the true Earth that connects with the galactic history. We go over the concept of the 144,000, the secret knowledge regarding the coming of the host of heaven, which is us, the starseeds, the purpose and mission of a starseed. And then at the end of the 3rd class, I teach you 2 of my methods that have allowed me to access my galactic self, to my multidimensionality, so that you could begin also receiving downloads from your higher self or your different versions of yourself that exist on different realities that are higher than this one. And that's my first class. Now, the second class, the Starseed Astrology, is just a 1-day course. It's a 2-hour course. And in that course, what we do is we use your natal chart to pinpoint exactly your origin, your galactic origin, where you originated from. So just to let you guys know, according to my birth chart, I originated in Lyra, which is pretty much accurate. Everybody has a different point of origin. And on the 3rd course, which is the myth and mythology, or mythology and theology, we go over all the world's different mythos, the different pantheons, and how they kind of correspond to the different extraterrestrials that were here in ancient times, their purpose. We also go over the different books that were left out of the Bible, like the Gnostics, the Apocrypha, the Book of Enoch, and among other books. Yes. And why they were left out of the Bible. And then we go over Gnosticism, we go over secret societies, Illuminati, Knights Templars. We cover all of that in that course. So,
wow. So don't go to university or college, guys. Just take one of these courses, especially the last one, and you will know you go through 4 years of college in maybe a month. This is exactly what I tell some of my friends' children, and even to my children, I tell them, take this course and you'll know more in 1 or 2 months than in 4 years of college. So,
and it's true.
Yeah,
it's true. A lot of my people who have taken my classes, they are just mind blown with all of that information. They even said, wow, this is like, I feel like I did 20 years of research in just, 6, 7, 8 hours. But just bear in mind that the Starseed Cosmology, even though it's 6 hours, is divided in 3 weeks. So it's 2 hours a week on a specific day. So that way you're not sitting here online for 6 hours. So it's just 2 hours a week, guys.
Yes, and because we mentioned children, and you share with me that you have a young one. How is he perceiving your the way you are and what you do in the world, and does he have any special characteristics, let's say, if you can share that with us?
Well, he just turned 17. He's actually finishing his last year in high school. And I had an opportunity to meet with his counselor this morning and talking about how different universities are already, offering him scholarships. And so that was very fascinating to hear, of that. I mean, anybody here, who has a son or a daughter that is getting straight A's and, it's going to be on the honor roll list when they graduate, should be proud of their kid, right? For working hard.
Yes.
So my son isn't really too open to all this yet, but he's, there's a few topics that interest him. He knows that we're not alone in the universe. He knows that there are other dimensions. He just, right now he's just being a kid. He's just kind of hanging out with his friends, just being a teenager. And that's fine with me, although he is very proud of my work. And he does like the fact that I do have a large audience that respect me and honor my work. And he's always amazed as to how, like, when I go to a book signing and I have like hundreds of people there just waiting to meet me, and he's just like, wow, Dad, it's like whatever it is that you're doing, keep doing it, Dad. It seems like people do like your work. And I say, well, I enjoy what I do.
You planted the seed. That's the most important thing. Yes. Ismael, any other projects you are working on and you can share with us?
Well, other than my Starseed cosmology class starting in I believe it's starting in October, so if you guys want to sign up, there is time. The projects that I'm working on right now, I am planning a book tour in November where I'm going to be traveling the different parts of the states, so I will give everybody the heads up at least a few weeks in advance as to where I am going to be and the timing, if you guys want to come meet me and get your book signed. What else? Oh, yes, I'm going to be going to the alien event. I'm actually going to be one of the keynote speakers. I'm going to be presenting there this September at the Alexis Resort and Casino in Vegas. I think it's the 12th of September to the 15th of September, I believe. And I'm also going to be back in Vegas in November to speak at the Stairway to Heaven Disclosure Fest, which is being, I guess, sponsored by Jimmy Church and Fade to Black. So I'm going to be at those two events in Vegas, September, and then of course join me in November for the Stairway to the Star Disclosure Fest.
Okay, we'll be sure to promote them and remind everyone about them. So we are approaching the end of the interview. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, just remember, guys, that no one is here to save us, guys, that we have to do the work, and that we are living in a time where we are at a crossroad. Do we choose to evolve organically, naturally, through the activation of our DNA, or do we become lazy and take the, path of technology? A lot of civilizations have already faced this crossroad many of times. And let me tell you, when they choose the technological dystopia path, they always travel back in time, because eventually their species begin to die out when they lose their connection to source. So let's just make sure that we don't repeat that same mistake.
Yes, thank you. In other words, walk barefoot, take a walk in the park, listen to the birds, sit by a water stream and meditate, and work your garden with bare hands, and you're going to get that feeling of being free, being alive. Thank you very much for the time and for everything you share with us today.
You're welcome, Claudiu. And what I could do is also give you the link so people could access the second edition of my book.
Yes.
Which is better than the first edition.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Claudiu.
Thank you. And to my guests, thank you for watching it. Like it, share it. Go to my website to download a free copy of my book. Don't forget that spiritualinspired.ca is now a standalone website where you can find all the previous 130 interviews. Until next time, love and gratitude.